welcome back to Richard's Toy Room. Well, today we have a little bit of a problem. As you can see, I have a large priority mailing box here. So it's the Major Matt Mason line from the late 60s by Mattel. So one of the things I was after was this thing called the Firebolt space cannon. So I get this, I got a pretty good deal on one. It's just, the only thing it said in the listing was that it didn't work. And I kind of figured I could probably fix it no matter what. Because I'm sure it's just common electrical issues that toys from then usually have. So I get the box and I get it out of the parcel locker. And as soon as I pick it up, it sounded like that. I was like, oh no, because this toy is one piece and there should be nothing loose that should be rattling around in the box. And I could tell just from the sound that there was nothing in there protecting it. So I open it up and sure enough, it's in like 4 or 5 pieces. So got that. Gear, and a spring, and that's all that was in the box. Of course I was furious, and I couldn't believe someone, they actually paid for priority shipping on this, $15, and threw it in the box carelessly, absolutely no care for what was going to happen to it. So like I said, this is supposed to be just one piece. And they destroyed a 50-plus-year-old toy with their thoughtlessness. So anyway, unfortunately, this is not something that's easily fixed. Now, as you can see here, this shaft or whatever it is that makes this upper part rotate, I believe that's where this thing spins. This connects here, and it's part of this whole assembly, whatever you want to call it. So there's really no way to like glue that. It would never hold. So when you flip this part over, this looks worse than it is. I didn't realize it at first, but all this is this just popped out of the thing here. So here's the other side of that little pin here. You can see it kind of moves up and down here. And not even 100% sure how this thing activates. I mean, it's got like this lever here, which moves over here, which does something to either engage or disengage something on some other part of this. So what I need to do is figure out if there's a way for me to either replace this with something similar or reinforce it down the middle somehow, like with a bolt, maybe with a nut on one end. Or see, this here actually, if I found a carriage bolt and ground it down so it was the right diameter, I think that would work. And then run it up through here, and then up through here, and then attach a nut on this other side inside of this, whatever you call it, cavity here. Unfortunately, I need to figure out a way to get in there because this, like I said, this does not come apart any farther than it already is. I mean, not even the cannon doesn't even come off. And to make things even more of a slap in the face, I put some batteries in it, and it works. And everything works on it. The light, the sounds, the motor. It just disgusts you that someone was so thoughtless to treat it this way. So what I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to try and see if I can do exactly what I said. Like I said, I'm not even 100% sure how this thing works. And it's got parts in here that look like they move. So I know I looked up online and this panel pops out. That's how you can replace the light bulb if it burns out. So I think if I pop this panel off, I could probably get a better view of all the stuff inside. Plus it needs to be cleaned really bad. And I'm sure the battery contacts and all that stuff could do with a good emery boarding and cleaning and all that. And that would probably help it work a lot more efficiently. So let's get started. Oh, and by the way, this obviously goes on here. And then this spring, I'm assuming, goes on top of there. It may go underneath it. I'm not sure yet. I'll have to figure that out. Well, they did not make that easy. So what I had to do was I had to put a screwdriver right at the very top between this little thing here and kind of twist the screwdriver so it was moving this down out of behind the little tab that holds it in, and then put another screwdriver here on the side, each side, and kind of do both at the same time, and I eventually got it to pop loose. But I was really afraid it was going to break, and I'm actually surprised it didn't. But yeah, they did not make this serviceable at all. I mean, except for the light bulb. Even that doesn't look like it's easy to get out of there. So this lever, all this does is change the direction of the light. So if you push it this way, it transfers light down a plastic clear reddish pink piece of acrylic and lights up the barrel. If you put it this way, it makes the light, which is this black thing right here, it makes it point up, which would shine it through this. So that's all this lever does. This lever here turns it on and off. The batteries obviously go, whoops, good, I could get that out of our way. Batteries go in there. So now we need to figure out how the rest of this works. There's a gear with a shaft in it in there, which goes all the way down to this gear on the bottom. So there's a motor like right in this little area here, which has a worm drive on it that turns the gear here. Looks like that radar dish on top has a pin that goes into that will turn as well. Alright, so it looks like this gear down here is always turning. This gear on the bottom here. So that would line up with that, like there. So when you engage this lever on this here, it says drive, this is neutral. Now this whole thing spins. I'm not sure if it spins all the time or if it just, I don't know. Like I said, I'll have to figure that out. This really needs to be cleaned as well. But it does pivot on here. I think the spring does go under here. Yeah, that makes sense. And it obviously needs to be greased. So when this whole thing is turning down here. Somehow that engages with this, which would make the whole thing move, roll like that. What I can't figure out is how it pivots or not. So let's see. So if you turn this, pull it back, that is... Oh, I see. I didn't see that on here. So on here, is neutral. So this probably just does, what would that do? Just make the noise, I guess, with the motor on. And when you put it over here, written up here, it says drive. That would make this go, on the wheels. And when you pull it back here, see this thing moved as well. This says turret. So then this thing here would spin. Now I don't know if it also would engage this. I'm thinking not, but we'll find out, won't we? It says drive, but it doesn't seem to be doing anything with the, oh wait, there they go, sort of, they barely move. Maybe it moves slow, because it's not really geared, it's kind of like on the bottom of this. Get it off now that it's stuck. On the bottom of this, it's just got these little kind of feathered ridges on here. So that just kind of turns this gear in here. Looks like not like a whole lot. Oh, okay. So there's also this little pin down in here. You can see, let me move this. You see this here, when I move this, that moves. So when I pull it back to turret, it hits one of these veins in here and keeps this from turning, which would make it so that this does not move. When you go down, so you can't go past that pin. See, now it can. So that would engage this to start turning. So yeah, I think we figured it out. So all we got to do is clean it up and figure out a way to reattach it and clean all the electrical contacts, and I think we'll have a displayable piece. Yeah, the only other bad part on it, and I don't know if it was like this or if it got damaged during shipping, but there's a little crack right here. But it's almost not even noticeable, and it's not even cracked all the way through, but it is there. So, and it's got all the stickers on it and everything too, as far as I can tell. Although I believe this one up here is supposed to be up here, and we can remove that and move it. All right, so I say we get cracking on this. So I'm going to clean it off camera. I won't video that. Then when I figure out a way to reattach this to this, we'll come back and I'll show you what I've come up with, and hopefully it'll work. Alright, so here's where we are at this point. I've cleaned everything up, cleaned all the nasty off of all these parts. I had to move this gear. It was a little off center. It moved fairly easy, but I think I'm going to put a drop of super glue so to make sure it doesn't move off that axle again. I fixed the one little crack on the side here. I need to fix this big crack here. That's where everything's going to be glued together. So I'm going to probably, I haven't decided if I'm going to try using this stuff. I think will work on this kind of plastic. So I might do that and clamp it. And if that doesn't hold, then I'll probably use some epoxy. And then the next thing we have to do is I found this screw. It's perfect. It fits. Well, it fits in here. It's going to be hard to kind of show this like from far away, but I'll show up close when I get to that point. So you'll go through here and, you know, basically come up through that part. So I'll cut the head off and a few threads down, and then a washer and a nut will go up inside here, basically on the top of it like this, you know, when the head's gone. I was going to use this upside down and come through the bottom, but I figured, but after looking at it, I realized I didn't have to do that. That would take too much modification, when all I really had to do is fill this cavity up, because this screw fits in there perfectly. I took a file and I roughed it all up, and I'm going to use epoxy down in the hole after I cut the head off of this. Glue that in there. Then when that's dry, I'll take that and place it in through here and put the nut and the washer on top, and then I can go through here with a socket and a swivel and tighten it up as it's on here, you know, like this. I'll go through here, and then, you know, I'll obviously use some more glue on the top part as well. Hopefully that will put this solidly back together and it'll work just like new again. But it should be even better than new, theoretically, because now it's got a metal rod in the middle of it holding it together, so it should never break again, theoretically. So that's basically where we are at this point. Okay, we are ready for the final repair here. I have glued this down with that plastic weld, and I clamped it. These gigantic clamps are the only thing I could find handy, but you know, they did the job, and welded that crack back together there. And I kind of just went over it a little bit with the emery file. So that's ready to go. I got everything twisted to the right direction so to make it the easiest. I've got my ratchet with the swivel on the end, which it looks like it will maybe just barely work, hopefully. So before we do that, as you see, we have the screw put into the pivot pin here, or the whatever you want to call it, in the bottom. And then the spring will have to go on like that, and then this will have to go on. But unfortunately, I have to put all whatever grease and stuff that I'm going to put on this on now before I put the two halves together, because there's no way I'm going to be able to get in there and do it after. So I'm hoping that that won't be an issue. But the biggest problem I got to make sure is that I don't get any epoxy down from this tube that I'm going to be gluing the two halves together down to this red part here, because then this won't rotate. So I already put a drop of oil on there to kind of, you know, if I do get some on there, maybe the glue won't stick because of the oil. But, you know, crossing my fingers. So I think I'm going to let this dry just a little bit more before I start, you know, putting the pressure and stuff on it. So I just wanted to let you see where we are. So basically when you see it next, it should be all put together, and then we'll show the operation functions of it. Well, we are semi-successful. As you can see, it is back together. I did decide on one thing. This sticker here is actually correct in both positions, either up here behind the radar dish or here in front. In the instructions, it does tell you to place that sticker here. But on the box for this, it's here. So I'll just leave it. It's not that big a deal. It is missing one sticker down here, but that, again, not a big deal. So anyway, like I said, you can see it's together. And you can see I can lift it up, but it's all one piece. So unfortunately, I ran into something that I did not foresee as being a problem. If you remember, where this part up top connects to the red part on the bottom was that little skinny white tube, which is what had broken in the shipping. Well, I did put the bolt with the nut and the screw and everything and epoxied everything, and it seemed like it was going to work. Unfortunately, the weight of this top part was more than that already stressed out part underneath that if you remember, I serviced that big crack along the bottom of this. And now, as you can see, I'll show you, when I put it in neutral, which would be not driving and not rotating, see how it just tilts forward? It should be going like this, up straight. See, when I drop it back down, it's supposed to drop back into there. Maybe I can show it to you this way. See, it moves. I released it from, but unfortunately, it's a little hard to see on the camera, the way it's positioned. But it's supposed to sit more like that, and it tilts forward right at that pivot point. It's just like it's the plastic, even with the metal in there and even with the epoxy, it can't handle to support this weight of this top thing. So besides that, it works perfect. If you put it into this mode here, which is drive, or pull this back to turret, it works fine. But you can't put it in neutral, otherwise it sits all cockeyed. And you can't do it with the power on anyway. So switch the power on. It's in drive. It's going to start moving. It's actually supposed to do that first, but since it's so top heavy, now if I switch it into turret mode, see, it does work perfectly fine. You just can't put it into neutral with the power on. So if I'd have known that, I would have reinforced that a lot more. I mean, if I ever get another one like that, that's what I'll do. But this is pretty much only good for display, and that was my goal to begin with. Honestly, I mean, I wanted one in working condition just so I could say I have one in working condition. But you know, that stupid seller on eBay made that impossible. Right now, it's not quite dark enough out to give you a good view of the cannon lighting up and the, you know, this screen back here and the noises and all. Well, you can hear the noises obviously, but when it gets dark enough for me to turn off the lights, I will shoot another video of this in operation so you can see how it looks like with the in the dark. Stay tuned for that. That'll be the end of the video after that.